William Boyd, the actor we all knew as Hopalong Cassidy, was born on June 5, 1895 in Henryburg, Ohio. His road to fame wasn't easy. Before acting, Boyd did any jobs he could find, picking oranges, measuring land, even standing like a mannequin in store windows. These regular jobs taught him about life, and that real feeling came through in his characters. Boyd's handsome face and strong acting helped him get small parts in silent films during the 1910s and 1920s. His big break came in the late 1920 South, when he starred in The King of Kings. For a while, Boyd was a Hollywood leading man, loved by audiences. Then things went bad. As Hollywood changed to talking movies, Boyd ran into trouble because people mixed him up with another actor. He was wrongly connected to someone with the same name who had been in legal trouble. The mix-up hurt Boyd's reputation. He was banned by movie companies and his career stopped. But Boyd didn't give up. In 1935, he bought the movie rights to Clarence E. Mulford's Hopalong Cassidy stories. He wasn't just going to act in the movies, he was going to make them too. That was a huge risk, using his own money. People thought it was weird, but Boyd had a plan. The first Hopalong Cassidy movie started as a simple, cheap western, but quickly became a hit. People loved Boyd's version of the character. Clean-cut, silver-haired cowboy dressed in black who always did the right thing. He didn't drink, didn't smoke, always stood up for what was right, and treated people with respect. Basically, he was the cowboy your mom wanted you to look up to between 1935 and 1948. Boyd starred in 66 Hopalong Cassidy movies. 66. That's being really dedicated. When television started becoming popular in the 1950s, Boyd saw the chance before most other actors did. He began showing the Hopalong Cassidy movies on TV and even made new shows. His choice paid off in a big way. Hopalong Cassidy became famous across the whole country. Boyd's face showed up on everything from lunchboxes and comic books to cereal boxes and toys. So after all the movies got the fame, the kids dressing up like Hopalong Cassidy every Halloween, he just walked away. Once he stopped acting, he packed up the black hat and focused on something totally different, buying and selling land. He moved to Palm Desert, California, put his money into property, and did really well. For someone who made a name chasing bad guys on screen, he turned out to be a pretty smart businessman. But what really stands out is what came next. He didn't just move out of Hollywood physically. He disappeared from the public completely. Number, interviews, no talk shows, and not because he didn't have something to say, but because he didn't want to ruin the image. To him, Hopalong Cassidy wasn't just a role, it was a symbol. He didn't want people to see an older, slower version of that hero and lose the magic. After staying quiet for so long, he finally opened up, just once. And it wasn't about money or fame. It was about his friend, Randolph Scott. In a rare interview late in life, Boyd told the truth about their friendship. It was real. It's not flashy, not loud, just solid. They helped each other, grabbed lunch from time to time, went fishing, and what bonded them most were their values. Boyd put it perfectly. We talked about legacy a lot. We wanted to leave behind characters that made boys believe in doing the right thing and gave fathers a reason to watch with pride. Boyd also defended his friend against gossip about Scott's personal life and relationship with Cary Grant. Boyd said with quiet honesty, Randy didn't owe the world an explanation for who he loved or how he lived. He lived with grace and decency. That should have been enough. Boyd wrapped up that interview by saying, if people still see a little boy in a cowboy hat with a wooden gun pretending to ride into the sunset, then we did our job. Randy and I, we rode for the brand. That right there, that's legacy. You might not expect it, but William Boyd was a lifelong Republican. His political beliefs were deeply rooted in traditional values like personal responsibility, love of country, and law and order. In 1952, Boyd publicly supported General Dwight D. Eisenhower for president. Boyd genuinely admired Eisenhower for his leadership and moral character. It made sense. Both men stood for integrity, strength, and belief in something greater than themselves. Boyd's contributions to American film didn't go unnoticed. He was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 1734 Vine Street. But this star wasn't just about fame. It was about legacy. He took a rough-edged gunslinger from Pulp Fiction and turned him into a white-haired, honorable role model. Boyd helped shift how audiences saw heroes. It wasn't just acting. He was shaping American culture. Sadly, William Boyd passed away on September 12, 1972, at age 77. His final years were marked by a tough battle with Parkinson's disease and heart failure. By his side, the entire time, was his wife, Grace Bradley Boyd. She was the love of his life. Their marriage lasted over 30 years. Grace never left his side, caring for him until the very end. When Boyd passed, he was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. Grace lived many more years, passing away in 2010 at age 97. When she died, she was laid to rest beside Boyd. Even in death, they remained together, a symbol of loyalty and lasting devotion. Now, let's talk about Randolph Scott. Not the cowboy on the movie poster, but the man behind the cool stare and strong jaw. The guy who never shouted, never showed off, somehow ended up outsmarting Hollywood while barely breaking a sweat. Scott started out as the handsome supporting guy standing next to stars like Fred Astaire or Ginger Rogers. But even then, there was something about him. He had presence, calm, unshakable, and real. You didn't need him to say much. You just believed him. Soon, studios realized he wasn't just the guy beside the lead. He was the lead. While most stars were trying to find their thing, Scott found his and stuck with it. Westerns, not the cartoonish kind. These were stripped-down stories about rough men with pasts, pain, and principles. The kind of characters who spoke with their eyes, not their mouths. Scott didn't just fit that mold. He defined it. He made smart moves, too. He partnered with producer Harry Joe Brown, started Randolph Pictures, and took control over his career. In a time when studios held all the power, Scott quietly built his own. Then came his creative dream team, director Bud Bodacher and writer Burt Kennedy. Together, they made Western poetry. Films like 7 Men from Now and Ride Lonesome had soul. What made it all work? You felt the weight in his characters. Okay, these weren't young guns out for glory. They were men with regrets, with codes, with pasts that haunted them. Scott's performances had silence, but they also had scars. Okay, he'd look at someone and you'd feel 10 years of pain pass between them. He didn't need big speeches. Okay, his face did the talking. Maybe that depth came from his own life. Born into Southern money, Scott was athletic and later a World War I soldier. Not in some desk job either. He was on the front lines in France, directing artillery fire under enemy attack. He faced real danger and came back with a kind of strength you can't fake after the war. He bounced around before Hollywood came calling. Howard Hughes spotted him on a golf course, saw something in him, and tossed him a tiny role. Scott trained hard at the Pasadena Playhouse and soon earned real roles. Scott's personal life raised plenty of eyebrows. He had a short-lived marriage to a DuPont heiress that never quite clicked. Then there was his long-time living arrangement with Cary Grant. The two shared a Malibu beach house for over a decade, which set Hollywood buzzing. Were they just best friends? Something more? They never said, and honestly, they didn't owe anyone an answer. Whatever it was, their bond was deep and rare, and it lasted a lifetime. While other actors chased fame in flash, Scott played the long game. He wasn't loud, but he was smart, really smart. Audiences saw the cowboy on screen. Behind the scenes, he was quietly building a real estate empire. At the time, He retired in 1962. He wasn't just rich. He was Hollywood tycoon rich. Over $100 million rich. Let's talk about that final film. Ride the High Country wasn't just a great Western. It was a perfect send-off. Scott, alongside fellow legend Joel McCrea, played aging lawmen coming to terms with a changing world. It was raw, emotional, and deeply personal. You could feel it. It wasn't just about their characters. It was about their own legacy. After that role, he said everything he wanted to say and never acted again. He spent his final years in quiet wealth, a private family man with a wife and 2 adopted children. When he passed away in 1987, just 2 months after Cary Grant, it wasn't with headlines or red carpets. His funeral was small, held near his boyhood home in North Carolina. Reverend Billy Graham led the service. President Ronald Reagan sent a tribute. Randolph Scott may not have been the loudest name in Hollywood, but he was the kind of man whose silence meant something. He didn't need to shout to leave a mark. He was graceful. He was grit. Through their films and friendship, William Boyd and Randolph Scott left behind more than just Hollywood legacies. They became symbols of an era when heroes stood tall, spoke honestly, and believed in doing the right thing. For those who still cherish the golden age of Westerns, their spirits live on as reminders of the values that once shaped a nation.